Let me go ahead and call the meeting to order. We are as full up here as we will be this evening. We've got one member on vacation, and want to remember Councilman Griffin's family is they suffered a loss in that family of his wife's father, so we want to remember them during this time, and we'll do so now as I lead us in an invocation. If you would, join me in prayer, please. Lord, we thank you for your bounty that you have poured out on our lives. We thank you for the blessings that has provided for us, and pray that we will always be mindful of your presence in our lives. We thank you for this beautiful day and for guidance and direction and safety that has brought us to this point, that we could conduct your business on behalf of the city, and pray that that we will seek your insight and guidance and direction as we seek to fulfill the calling that you have placed upon our lives to hold public office. Lord, we want to remember Councilman Griffin's family and his wife's family as they have lost a loved one. We pray that you will embrace and comfort them during this time, and that friends and family and their faith will offer them a source of comfort as they go through the days ahead. Lord, as we attend to the items that are on this agenda this evening, we pray that you will be with us, offer us guidance and direction, that we might be the servants that you have called us to be, that we might understand and be mindful of the needs of all the citizens of this great city that you've allowed us to lead. I ask these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen.
With that, then, we will move to our public forum session. Public forum is an opportunity that we allow at the beginning of each meeting for those folks that might like to address the council in regards to a issue that is pertinent to our upcoming meeting. And tonight we have had someone sign up. That would be Mr. Don Collins, who is here in regards to the municipal waste issue that we will address in just a little while. Mr. Collins, if you'll come to the podium there as a matter of information, if you will state your name and address just as a matter of record, the floor will be yours, sir.
Thank you. My name is Don Collins. My address is 2699 Cochran Industrial Boulevard, Douglasville, Georgia. And I came here tonight to tell you all that I love garbage. And I love garbage so much, I drove all the way from Atlanta to tell you how excited I would be if you all would give us the opportunity to bid on your curbside collection services. I work with Waste Industries. We have about 300 city and county contracts throughout the southeastern United States, and certainly would love to add City of Greer to our list of satisfied customers. Now, I looked at the contract y'all have. It looks like it started back in 2005 when you all got out of the business and hired a private contractor. In 2005, the U.S. economy was growing at about 3.5% for 3 years consecutive. We had a 4.9% unemployment rate, and interest rates were at a historic low. So we were at the top of that bubble. 4 years later, we were at negative 3.5% growth, 10% unemployment, and you all considered whether or not you wanted to renew your contract with your current hauler. And certainly it was a good decision at that point. With all the uncertainty, you had to take what you had, what was working, and move forward with it. But now it's been 8 years. And now you're looking at renewing the contract again. And man, so many things have changed in the last 4 years, from technology to the way we approach what we do. Everybody had to tighten their belt, figure out a better way to provide services, and I am positive that if you held a competitive bidding process, you would find great benefit in doing so. So I know you all are pretty far down the road in your negotiations to renew. And so I guess what I would ask, at the very least, if you do decide to renew, just do it for a year. 1 year, give it 12 months, and then put together a good RFP that we can all participate in next year and see if we can give you guys a more efficient program that could possibly drop some money to your bottom line. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, in your packet this evening are the minutes from our council meeting on May the 28th. I'll entertain a motion that they be received.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any items of note for the clerk? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Folks, this is not our new summer police uniforms. We have some visitors with us this evening, and I'd like to ask them to join us, please. I'd like to offer the following proclamation. It says that Mayor Danner and the Greer City Council recognize June the 28th as Carolina Day. Whereas on June the 28th, 1776, the colony of South Carolina, with much civil support, soundly defeated a fleet of some 50 ships of the British Navy and at least 2,500 armed British soldiers at the Battle of Sullivan's Island. Whereas the battle took place some 6 days prior to the Declaration of Independence of the United States of America on July the 4th, 1776, and whereas the Battle of Sullivan's Island was the first major patriot victory of the American Revolution, and whereas the Battle of Sullivan's Island produced many South Carolina heroes, including William Moultrie, William Jasper, Francis Marion, John Rutledge, to name a few, and whereas the 28th day of June each succeeding year has been named as Carolina Day and has been celebrated throughout South Carolina with religious services, parades, and ceremonial events, including speeches. Now, therefore, the city of Greer proclaims that June 28, 2013 be and hereby is Carolina Day throughout the city of Greer, South Carolina. Gentlemen, I'd like to offer that proclamation to you, and join me in a round of applause, if you would. I've asked our guests if they'd like to offer any comments in regards to the Battle of Sullivan's Island or any other historical information or about your group.
Our group is the South Carolina Society Sons of the American Revolution. We have currently about 850 members throughout the state of South Carolina in 17 chapters. We are a historical, genealogical, and educational society. One of the main things that among the main things that we do is to receive proclamations of this and to commemorate historically significant events throughout the state of South Carolina. A little known fact is that it is physically impossible to be no more than 12 miles from any Revolutionary War event in the state. That includes battles, skirmishes, murders, and other actions. As a matter of fact, there is one. We're actually right now, the closest event to us would be the site of the Hampton and Heights Massacre, which took place behind what's now Woodland Elementary School. We have a website, it's scssar.org, and if you're interested in our activities and events, or having some of us come to speak about other events of the Revolution, including Carolina Day, the first great victory of the Patriot cause. And some scholars say even that news, that victory, was what prompted Congress to go ahead and pass the Declaration of Independence upon hearing the news of victory. Again, we thank Mayor Danner and the City Council for this proclamation, and we wish each of you a very happy Carolina Day.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Very good. Thank you for joining us this evening. Just for your information, my extended family will be gathering at Sullivan's Island the last week of July to engage the Battle of Sullivan's Island 2013. So you want to avoid that area at that time. We'll go back to our agenda at this point in time, and David Cypher, our Director of Finance and Information Technology, will present his annual report along with those that assist him, and we look forward to that information. David, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We are pleased to come before you tonight to present the departmental report for the past year. Again, being given today, June 11, 2013. One of the first things that we always like to keep in the forefront of our activity in the department is the City of Greer's vision that was passed by City Council several years ago. And marked in red are some of those adjectives that we'd like to apply to our work plan to deliver effective and efficient services to provide a quality of life that makes the City of Greer a great place to live, work, and play. Moving to the mission, again, highlighted in red are certain terms that apply to the responsibilities that we have in the department. The City of Greer values and shall provide open and honest government, representative of all of its citizens, and fiscal responsibility of the public's money through cost-effective services. Excuse me. We're always pleased to bring the staff in and show their faces so that you are familiar with who they are. Of course, at the top you have myself, and some of the accomplishments that I have had this year are three in particular. One, I've completed the South Carolina Local Government Management Training Program. I was licensed as a Chartered Global Management Accountant by the AICPA, and then presently I am completing my 2-year term on the Board of Directors for the Association of Public Treasurers of the United States and Canada. Below that, we have Susan Howell, our accounting supervisor. She is presently attending MCTI and has graduated the Business License Offers Association Training Academy. Next on the list is Vicki Adams. She's a Master Business License. That's a credential issued by the Municipal Association. She is president of the South Carolina Business License Officers Association and serves as the Appalachian Council of Governments Business License Coordinator. Next, we have Lady Munoz. She's our Accounts Payable and Purchasing Coordinator. Marvin Smith, also licensed as a Certified Public Accountant, is our Payroll and Accounts Receivable Coordinator. And Hazel Poston, one of our clerks downstairs, certified as a permit technician, zoning inspector, and a property maintenance and housing inspector. Next we have Jelena Earl, his clerk downstairs. Heather Smith, one of our more recent clerks added to the staff. And our latest addition is Catherine Gordon, started in March, and is also the 4th clerk downstairs. Moving to information technology, you're very familiar with Jim Ridgell. He is also an instructor at Greenville Tech. He is on the networking board for ECPI and was certified this past year as a Certified Government Chief Information Officer offered through the South Carolina Legit program through the Municipal Technology Association of South Carolina, which is through the Municipal Association. A lot of letters and a lot of words there. We're very proud of the accomplishments of Jim there. On the right, we have Nick LePage. His last day was this past Friday. He has graduated and his internship has ended, and we have one vacant intern position in addition to Nicholas. This is a great team that we work with. We do a lot of work, and I'm very proud of the work that they do in the areas that we serve in. We do cover a lot of areas in our department. Of those, the large ones of note you'll see on the list, we have the budget, which you're familiar with and we're going through right now. Financial reporting, you're familiar with the reports that we bring to you each month that were also provided to the community. We're responsible for the audit and business licensing throughout the city, as well as payroll for the entire city, But one note I want to make here is customer service, frontline contact. This is very important that we stress with our clerks downstairs. A lot of times they may be the only person that a citizen or a business owner ever has with the city. So we stress with them the importance of that customer service aspect, and that may be the only person that person ever interacts with the city. So, them becoming that contact and them becoming that face of the city, we're wanting them to present the image that we're all trying to present through our customer service program and serve our citizens well. And then, of course, we have technology. You'll notice that all areas in the finance and information technology impact everything that the city does. And that's through its citizens, through its departments, and its regulatory authorities. As I mentioned before, we do have a great team, and they work very hard. Before you on the screen, you'll see the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is a team effort. Everybody contributes to this, pulling records and pulling data that we report to the Government Finance Officers Association. And a very prestigious award, takes a lot of work, a lot of effort goes into it. We have received that since 1997. That's 15 years in a row, and we certainly do expect to receive it. Mr. Arrow was asking me about it a little earlier this evening. We do expect to receive that for June 30th, 2012, and that should be coming in August. One of the concepts that we stress through our interviews of every prospective employee that comes into the department is that the Finance and Information Technology Department is a service department. Everything that we do serves someone else. So we are serving, as noted here, the citizens, every department, and again, the regulatory authorities. And we'll move into some of the statistical information that we compile throughout the year. Starting with the changes in fund balance over the last 10 fiscal years. This is one of our main fiscal indicators of the city's stability, health, and continuing viability. If you look at the graph, what I want to point out here is the yellow bar. The yellow bar represents our unreserved fund balance going back to the year 2003. And you'll see at 2010 the low point of 1,353,416. That was coming at the end of the recession. We had been using a large portion of our fund balance reserves for a couple of repetitive years. Since then, we have experienced some steady growth. So for fiscal year 2012, we ended at 3,720,806. The purple line going across the graph is the budget percentage, the fund balance as a percentage of the budget. So again, in 2010, you will see we hit a low percentage of 7.98%. And that means that we only had 7.98% of our budget held in reserves. Through 2011 and 2012, you see the growth. We are currently at 20.59%. This past year, you'll remember that we brought before you some financial policies. One of those was our fund balance position that created a fund balance target. Those policies require that we bring this report to you, and it is a good indicator of where we've come from, where we are, and where we are going. So looking at the proposed budget we'll be entertaining later this evening, we have a proposed budget of our operating general fund of $18,497,661. According to policies, we have a fund balance target of 35%, which gives us a target dollar amount of $6,474,181. From the previous slide, bringing that forward, our fund balance, unassigned fund balance of our fiscal year end 2012 was $3,720,806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806. 806 Making projections for the current fiscal year for June 30th, 2013, we expect to be able to add about $911,000 to our fund balance. You subtract that amount out also, leaves us a estimated remaining dollar figure to reach our target of $1,841,000. Now, looking at the prior graph, with that in mind of the $1.8 million, if we continue this growth trend, and we certainly, being fiscally responsible and fiscally conservative, would certainly expect to reach that target in the next several years. This next graph compares our annual budget to the city assets and the assessed value of the city. You will see that the assessed value, and compared to our budget, has remained stable. Excuse me, the capital assets to the assessed value has remained stable through the years. And then as compared to the assessed value of the city, which has continued to grow. And you will see the note here that our budget is presently at 18.7% of assessed value of the city. And I wanted to show a comparison of where Greer stands to select cities in both Greenville County and Spartanburg County. And the red bar right in the middle is Greer. We're at 18.7%. This is, again, our budget compared to assessed value of the city. We're right in the middle between Malden, Greenville, Simpsonville, and Spartanburg, with Malden being the lowest at 16.7% and Spartanburg being the highest at 24.8%. Again, this isn't all the cities in the county, it's just these few that we're comparing to. This next graph, you'll see the pink line at the bottom is our millage. Going back to 2003, we're at 93.9 mills. 2 years ago, we went to 97.8, and that's where we are today. That is a 4.15% growth over the last 10 years. And looking at the blue line, which is our population growth, back in 2003, the estimated population was 18,970, and you'll see the estimated population for 2012 is 26,098. And that growth is 37.58% over that same 10-year period. And if you kind of combine these graphs together, and the analysis there is that these graphs show that our assessed value growth, which is related to our population growth, as well as our business growth, continue to help to fund the budget growth that we've been able to experience, rather than needing to increase the millage to maintain services. Next, we'll move to department and programmatic statistical information. We will start with business licensing. And again, business licenses touches all areas of the city. That's its citizens, its departments, and regulatory authorities. I want to cover some data of the position itself. Starting in 2006, that position, in addition to the inspector's daily duties, put their hands on and worked through 346 licenses and helped them through the process, and some of these being ones that were not getting licensed in the first place. So it's that's what the position was intended to do, was go out there and catch those businesses operating without licenses. So that is included in this number. So through the years, you can see 2006, 346. We had a high in 2007 of 702 licenses. And then moving forward to 2012, 317 licenses. The green line going across the graph is the break-even point to cover the expenses for those positions. Starting in 2006 at $49,861, carrying through to 2012 at $66,000. That's the break-even point for that position. The red line indicates the amount of revenues collected on those business licenses that they touched over and above their daily duties. So you can see in 2006, we started at just over 147,000, a high point in 2007 of 324,000. In 2010, the two lines came very close together, about $300 apart, but we were covering the expenses there. And then we saw some growth again between 2011 and 2012, where there was about a $30,000 difference. So the business license projects that we worked on this year, those that impacted the citizens. Last year, the business license position, in conjunction with the police department, instituted an emergency business contact information packet that continued this year. We can continue gathering more information and improving that process and improving the information that we're able to collect. This year we also developed a hospitality and accommodations tax notification packet that explains what the tax is, how it's applied, the frequency that payments must be made, and how the hospitality and accommodations tax program works. That was very similar to the business information, emergency business contact information that we created last year, except it was specific to the programs of hospitality and accommodations. And then, in addition, we also continue the customer service improvements. Working with other departments, we've put together cross-departmental forms and applications that pertain to finance as well as codes, and permitting applications and codes applications, and providing those packets to customers when they come in. And that helps detail the process that they need to go through to do work inside the city of Greer. Since we developed that first packet, which was a paper packet, in the last few month and a half, 2 months, we've been turning those paper forms into online forms. So we're moving, we're supporting the paper, but trying to move towards more electronic documents to help the environment, help save paper, but to efficiently move these processes through the applications through the process. Okay, business license projects that were impacting the regulatory authorities. As you're aware, we amended the business license ordinance a few months ago, bringing that up to the 2012 NAICS codes and our currently adopted definitions. And then in addition, we also implemented the reduction scale for large manufacturers in their business license fee. And then the last thing here for regulatory authorities is we implemented a audit program, audit procedure for tracking contractors and suppliers on large jobs. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Susan Howell, who will bring information on our finance and accounting.
Mayor, Council, as you know, I'll be very brief. Just want to go over our finance and accounting functions. As you know, as David has said, we serve the citizens, all the departments, and regulatory authorities. This graph here is total transactions by year. We track the major transactions that are processed by our department. In 2012, we had 26,659 transactions, which was an increase of 2,425 transactions over the prior year, 10% increase. As you'll see, year-to-date 2013, we have 23,853 transactions. We annualize that number, and which gives us around 25,841 transactions, is what we kind of expect to end up this year. As you'll see, the prior years, 2009, 2010, 2011, they go down with the big jump. We're going back up in 2012, and we think with this 2013, we will stay at an increased number over the prior years. And this is a detail of those transactions. The receipts, business license, and purchasing orders, those all went up from 2011 to 2012. The AR invoices went up from 73 to 158. We expanded that part. That part is now being expanded further in finance, and so that's why there is such a big increase there. And I think we'll continue to see the receipts, business license, all those things go up due to our business activity. Okay, and we'll continue with our finance projects that have been implemented. And in our categories for impacting citizen and regulatory authorities, the additional financial reports provided, transparency, we have added some reports to our website and to the agenda, trying to give as much information to the citizens as possible. Then the impacting the citizens and departments category, telecommunications contracts. We had two big things that we did this year. We changed our telephone provider, and then we also renewed our cell phone contract, which gave big savings for the city. The second thing was the cash handling training course. This was for our whole department. It was very informative. We had an instructor from she was an executive board member of APT, the board that David is on, and this was just a helpful thing to go over. We had this on a non-work day, so everybody could attend, and it was very, very helpful for all our day-to-day activities. And the impacting departments category, Code QA. This is the permitting and code enforcement software that we were beginning to implement last year. We were running parallel about this time, and then we have actually enforced it. We've gone totally to that system. We work closely with building and development standards to take care of this. We found out there's a lot of things that we can do with this Code QA, and we think going forward we'll also be able to use this in other parts of our departments to make everything efficient. And then the impacting the regulatory authorities is the business license ordinance update that David was talking about. We had to go into our business license module in our financial software and update all the businesses and NAICS codes accordingly to the new ordinance. And then our work plan, which is things we're working on now and things we plan to work on in the near future, the things that are impacting our citizens. We're going to be doing a CPW billing and meter audit. We are going to be looking into online credit card payments, and then we're also going to hopefully increase the dashboard utilization. And then impacting citizens and regulatory authorities, we're going to do look into doing more financial reporting for additional transparency. And then the last thing, impacting regulatory authorities, will be group event licensing. And now we'll move on to Jim Ridgell for information technology.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening. As David mentioned earlier, of course, the information technology does touch pretty much all areas of the operations of the city. Some of the things that we look at as to why we have the technology, what we're doing with it, is of course making sure we're making efficient use of our resources, making sure the public has access to our information, public safety, and unfortunately, as we have seen with recent weather events, we definitely see a need for the disaster recovery measures and how we can assist with that. Of course, expanding all of our programs and capabilities, adding additional internal controls, making sure that we are also legally compliant with all of our data and information that we store, as well as making sure we have the physical security and for the evidence that we collect, as well as, again, access to our systems as well. One of the reasons that we also want to stress fiscal security, we had a recent incident occur in our court system where we had an individual that came in to make a payment into the court system and essentially thought that the clerk at the window had taken some money but had not returned it or given them a receipt for that payment. We went to the video evidence to look at it, and of course it did show that the individual had not actually made the payment that they thought they had made. Unfortunately for them, they went into the courtroom with Judge Mims that day and was pretty emphatic that that situation did occur, that the clerk did take the money. Judge Mims, being the wonderful judge that he is, decided to give this individual the opportunity to have a few hours of quiet time so that he could reflect upon the activities that had occurred during that day, as well as gain some new perspective on the proper etiquette to display in Judge Mims' courtroom. I won't play that whole thing there. All right, along with that though, some of the technology that we've implemented this year, again with the disaster recovery, we've increased our storage capacity. We have new things coming up, basically citywide, that will require us to store more data, more information, more videos, and retain that information longer to meet the legal compliances. We've added some network security by adding access to our parks. We've added some new servers and made some improvements to the servers so that all of our equipment will function on the exact same time frame and not have any downtime, or as little downtime as possible, keeping things fast and expeditious. For the accessibility, we've made improvements to our cable channel, putting in some additional hardware that will not wear out quickly, but yet continue to enable us to do some additional programming that we did not have available before. Of course, with the addition of the Cannon Center now, we have that great media and AV access there, and citizen access as well. As was mentioned earlier, we've converted from AT&T to Charter for our phone carrier and internet access capabilities. This again has given us some great cost reductions. It has improved our access to those facilities, or to the internet and so forth. And again, some phone capabilities has also been extended as well to that. We've also added the agenda, as you're well aware, that can now be accessed via the internet from any location, anywhere where you have internet access. And the C and D and R that you see here, the Ds, of course, are indicating where we have departmental compliance. We have the C for citizens and expanding those capabilities for the citizens, and then the R for the regulatory requirements that we have. For physical security, we have upgraded the controlling panels around the city and added additional areas for control that we can access both physically there and also remotely as well, and gain additional reporting features based upon that to see who came in, who came out, how long they were in, and so forth. And of course, we always strive to improve the efficiency of what we do. We've made some improvements in our data centers for that collection, storage, and retrieval of all the information. Some of the current projects that we're working on now is, of course, expanding our network access to making sure that all of the parks that we have, both City Stadium, Stevens Field, Super Road, and having Wi-Fi access in those locations for not only faculty and staff, but also the citizens as well, and other departments that may be out and about that may have access and get access to the city's resources while they're out and about. We've expanded GIS capabilities such that right now it's currently in the testing phase, but the eventual plan here is to have not only departments but citizens as well can access the website, pull up a piece of property, and depending on how detailed they want to go with, it may see where power lines are run, where there may be sewers and so forth. But all of that is now generated in-house. We don't have to go outside to anyone else to get that information. And of course, integrating that into the Code QA project for our code enforcement representatives as well. And of course, one of my favorite projects right now, the City Council recorded live broadcast. Of course, making sure that we have these council meetings recorded, making sure they're available, and of course, moving forward with accessing that information. We're currently working on an enterprise asset management program, enable us to better work with our assets, keep track of them, put in workflow tickets and so forth, and tracking that information. We're making things more available for the employees. If they need any type of resources information, need to know what the medical benefits are for dental, they'll be able to go online, get that information. Any forms that they need to fill out, they should be able to go online and get those. and make them easy to access. We're adding for our citizens especially a web camera at the Tryon Center for the tennis courts. So they'll be able to go to a website and see, is there anyone out there? Is there a tournament going on? How many people are there? Can I get on the court? And so forth. So they'll be able to access that online. The telephony upgrades that we've made, I've already mentioned those, changing from AT&T to Charter, has given us some great expansion of those capabilities. And we've currently put in place some Macs, and we're evaluating how those are integrating into our system and the functionality of those systems as well. Some of the things that we're looking at doing is looking at open source software. Right now it is a really hot area. There's a lot of development going on in that area where even though it's really in its infancy, there's some great benefits of the open source code. So we're going to look and see how we can utilize that in our operations here. You may have heard of IPv6, where essentially overseas they've run out of the basic IP addresses. This is the next generation of those IP addresses that really expand and open up the world of networking. We'll see how we can possibly adopt that. Fax server utilization, again, just seeing how we can centralize our faxing capabilities versus having them scattered all over the city in different locations. E-ticketing, of course, being able to pay those online. And of course, there in the bottom, the increased online payment capabilities as well. Some of the things that we might potentially take a look at this year, looking at an integration with CPW's network. We see some opportunities there where we can combine our networks together, keep them separate, but yet utilize some of the resources that we can work collaboratively with what we do. Internally, utilizing some Promethean boards so that our faculty and staff members can go to another location and get additional information and interact with the systems in those locations. For our customers, of course, citizens coming in utilizing a kiosk to get more information than what may be available on a handout. We can put all that information electronically. Expansion of the E-Track. Right now, primarily used in our Parks and Recreation Department for registrations, payments. I'd like to extend that outward to all of the departments of the city as well. Integrating the phone systems and public safety radio systems such that, heaven forbid, but in the event of a disaster, if sometimes it's necessary for law enforcement to communicate via cell phone with other agencies that may not be on their radio system. This would enable them to use one device to do both radio and cell phone communications. So looking at that possibility of expanding that out. And of course wanting to link our capabilities to other governmental agencies, particularly in the courts area, being able to communicate with, say, someone in Columbia to do some online processing of a case, and utilizing some video conferencing capabilities there as well. With that, I will turn this back over to Mr. Seifert.
Thank you, Jim. As you can see through the presentation, the areas that finance and information technology touches has a very wide impact. Well, the impact of finance and information technology, well, who is it to? It's to our citizens, it's to our departments, and it's to the regulatory authorities. Well, why is that? Well, we do it to carry out our portion of the responsibility of Team Greer and the city's vision to deliver effective and efficient services, open and honest government, and fiscal responsibility. Some of these services and contracts and projects we've talked about earlier, we've kind of touched on, but I wanted to let you see some of the numbers behind it. In switching from AT&T to Charter, we have an annual estimated savings of $28,000. Right now we're reviewing the request for proposals, or getting that ready for our copier contracts, with the intent there to either reduce or eliminate those expenses for a time. We're already under review of the Greer Trust debt. We're talking with a a consultant there, and they're estimating savings over the remaining life of the debt that is held by Greer Trust to the tune of $803,000 to $987,000. And that's a huge, huge savings that will be passed through to the city. And then as we're talking with the consultant there, we'll also be reviewing all remaining debt for any possible refinancing options that we may have. For the last several years, the governments have been under increasing scrutiny for their transparency of their operations. And I would like to think that we're very well covered in that area. We've been putting our information online for a number of years. This year we've probably doubled the number of reports that we're putting out there. In this list, you can see the reports that are available on our website. They're archived on the website, or some of them are available through the agenda. That's all of our budgeted funds and annual budgets is one of the bigger documents out there. Our annual audit, which is our CAFR. Monthly general fund reports, there's about 4 or 5 of them there, and then we're also putting out reports on our hospitality taxes and our stormwater funds. And then recently, we have just been linked up with the state treasurer's site, so people going to the state treasurer can come back to Greer and if they're interested in our information and see how we're performing here. We have 9 initiatives in the strategic plan that you're familiar with. And I just want to briefly update you on where we are in these initiatives. The first one is records, and as you're aware, that ordinance was tabled. Second is the alarms ordinance that is currently under review with the police department and the fire department. We adopted the financial policies, and those are under implementation right now. We have the codes enforcement and permitting software called Code QA. The first initial plan stage of that has been implemented, but as we've used it, we've been seeing opportunities that it can provide efficiencies and usage outside of our original scope that we thought we would use it for. So it is under continuous review from the finance department and building development standards department to see where those other improvements and opportunities may lie. Working on the sidewalk inventory and database, that is in conjunction with the building and development standards and public services. That is an ongoing project. The same is true for the road maintenance program in conjunction with the building and development standards department, as well as the street lighting surveys. That is an ongoing project that is in conjunction with finance, building and development standards, public services, and the police department. For our wireless infrastructure, as we've done the initial presentation of the budget to you, we have the public expansion that is currently in the proposed budget, and we are now reviewing the development plan to expand city services wirelessly. We do have additional city security network services that are planned to expand. Those would be our cameras and those systems. That is in the proposed budget that you'll be receiving tonight for implementation. This slide is a new slide, and it is one I'm very proud of, and I think every member of Team Greer is proud of the accomplishments that we've had here over the last years. But this list details everyone or every city that I've talked to personally or hosted here that is interested in seeing what we've done. There's 7 cities in South Carolina. We have Kannapolis, North Carolina. There was a city in Alabama. But the most interesting one on here for me is Fairbanks, Alaska. It just really blew my mind when I turned around and picked up the phone and I saw Alaska come across the phone. I had to answer just to see what it was, and it turned out it was a city that was Fairbanks interested in one of the services and processes that we run, and they wanted information on it. So we're very proud of the city and the accomplishments that the whole team puts forth their effort in achieving. So why do we do what we do? So that we can make Greer a great place to live, work, and play. We'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Council, floor is open. David, just a bit of insight, and I don't remember exactly what it was, audit CPW meters or something? What are we doing in that regard? Our own meters as to the bill, or what?
That was a billing and meter audit.
Okay.
With the construction that we've done with City Park and combining a lot of the pieces of property, there are old meters out there. One of them is to maybe get those off the system and up and out of the ground. But the main impact of that is to make sure that the meters that are in our name are ours, and that the associated items on that meter are correct, so that we're being billed for what we're supposed to be billed for, as opposed to some other items that may not be.
Oh, okay, thank you. Others? Mr. Seifert, we appreciate your work and your report, and thank you staff as well too for not only being here but helping with that presentation tonight and keeping us abreast of an ever-changing area and department. Thank you, sir. We appreciate the work of all of you.
Thank you.
All on Mr. Seifert's report, we'll have Mr. Grier's report. Administrator's report, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Mostly some calendar items. The first is to make you aware that, as you are aware, we've partnered with Greer Cultural Arts for producing and displaying one of our first pieces of public art. We've partnered with a group of students at the Harley Bond Center. Again, as we recognized recently, a group of those folks that helped us out at Century Park. We've also had another group of those students that have assisted us with the fabrication of one of our newest pieces of public art. That will be unveiled and dedicated next Tuesday, that's June 18th at 6:30 p.m. at the Cannon Center. That is the kickoff of our storytelling series. And we thought that would be a great opportunity, since that's taking place at the Cannon Center, that we would use that same venue to dedicate that first piece of public art in our partnership with Greer Cultural Arts. So we do hope that your schedule will allow you to join us next Tuesday, the 18th. As you are aware, also, information has been provided that we are participating with the Greater Greer Chamber of Commerce Small Business Awards Program. As part of that program, our mayor is afforded the opportunity to present the Mayor's Award to small businesses here in our community, and we will be taking that opportunity to do that again this year. That will be taking place on Thursday, June 20th, and we've provided some information, and many of you have responded of your attendance plans on that. Another event that will be taking place at the Cannon Center. We have been continuing to work with our partners at the South Carolina Inland Port site. One of the things that we're excited to present to our community is a public meeting. That meeting will be held on Friday, June 28th. It will begin at 11:30 a.m. and again, that meeting will be at the Cannon Center. There will be representatives of the South Carolina Ports Authority, representatives of Norfolk Southern, representatives of Greer CPW, and South Carolina Department of Transportation. The purpose of that meeting will be pretty much a public hearing type environment. They'll present some general information, and then there will be stations set up in the room that folks can then go to those individual stations for those agencies, and they can ask and get answers to questions that they may have concerning the project, the construction, and how things are proceeding as part of that program. We're glad to be able to host that at the Cannon Center, and again, that will be on Friday, June 28th. The very next day is our annual celebration of Freedom Blast, and we will be gathering here at City Park that evening. Festivities will begin at 6 p.m. here at the park. Great venue of music, entertainment, and of course the fireworks extravaganza that will take place at the very end of the evening. So we are looking forward to hosting thousands of our community as they come to City Park for that event on Saturday the 29th. Looking forward to that. The Municipal Association's annual conference, as you are aware again, will be held in Greenville. That is taking place Thursday through Sunday, July 18th through the 21st. and we are hosting a number of folks, both Greer and Travelers Rest are participating in a mobile tour, and part of that will be displaying our downtown central business district, as well as information that we'll provide on the South Carolina Inland Port Project and the rehabilitation of the Cannon Center. They will be having lunch here in Greer, and we're looking forward to hosting members of cities across South Carolina as they come in to participate in that program. So glad to be able to show off Greer a bit as a part of that program. Of course, our movie series is underway. That takes place now every Thursday evening. It's right here in City Park in the amphitheater. So if you've not had an opportunity to come out yet this season, we did get rained out last Thursday, but we're looking at the forecast and we think we're in great shape for this Thursday evening. So looking forward to a large crowd and a good movie as we continue our series. That series is hosted by Greer Memorial Hospital, and we're glad to have them as a corporate sponsor on that event. With council's consideration, I would like to ask that you would allow me to discuss two separate contractual matters in executive session, one legal and one personnel. That would be two contractual matters, one legal and one personnel. I would be anticipating action on at least one of those items, possibly two, following that meeting.
Thank you, sir. With that, we'll move to appointments of boards and commissions. With that, we'll have our first one, which is the Airport Environs Planning Commission. There are actually two seats that are becoming available in that regard, one on the Spartanburg County side and one on the Greenville County side. I'll entertain a motion or nomination for a motion at this point. Not hearing any, we will carry that over. Again, we've got one more meeting to address that situation since their terms expire at the end of this month. We'll move to the Board of Architectural Review. Mr. David Langley, his term expires at the end of June, and I will open the floor for nominations in that regard.
Mr. Mayor, I've spoken to Mr. Langley and asked if he would be willing to continue his service, and he said he would. So therefore, I make the nomination of David Langley.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Other nominations? Hearing none. Floor is open for discussion. Hearing none. Ms. Duncan.
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Councilwoman, just municipal judge appointment. We were honored to have Judge Henry Hank Mims with us at our last meeting and to give us an update on what is going on over at the courts, and we were thankful to have him come and present to us. I'll entertain a motion to appoint a municipal judge.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to reappoint Judge Henry Hank Mims. Floor is open for discussion. Do I hear any other nominations? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood?
Yes.
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, there are three openings on the Planning Commission, or at least three terms that will be expiring on the Planning Commission. You have District 2, District 3, and District 6, all that require action. Do I hear any nominations in regards to the Planning Commission this evening?
Wanted to hold District 3's over. I did attempt to call Mr. Burton, but I anticipate him wanting to go again, but I haven't actually spoken to him.
Okay. Others? Again, then, I will remind you that along with the Airport Environs Commission, there are positions on the Planning Commission that will need to be addressed at our next meeting so that we can keep those boards and commissions fully staffed as they attempt to help us on a volunteer basis. To all of those who serve on our boards and commissions, we appreciate the volunteer city service that you provide to the city and And thank you for that, and we will look forward to filling all of those positions then at our next meeting. We'll move to items of old business, the first of which is the second and final reading of ordinance number 19-2013. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by Mac Copeland located at 95 Old Woodruff Road from R75 residential to C2 commercial.
No additional information.
We have no additional information in that regard. Do I hear a motion to receive?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. The floor is open for discussion. Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Beaufort,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council will move to items of new business, the first of which is the first reading of ordinance number 21-2013. This is an ordinance to adopt various international codes relating to inspection activities of the city of Greer, Greenville County, and Spartanburg County, South Carolina, and the enforcement of building provision as provided in said codes. And as y'all see, Ms. Helms has already made her way to the podium, and she is going to explain said codes for us this evening. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The time is here. For several years now, we have been in one code. The state of South Carolina has adopted the 2012 International Code Series as well as the 2011 National Electrical Code with an implementation date of July 1st. We are up against hundreds of code changes that will impact the safety of the citizens that we serve. We have had training for these code changes, but we will continue training as we slowly move into these changes that will take place. We need to adopt Chapter 1 of each of the codes as the administrative chapter. And we also have some insertions that we need to implement for the International Property Maintenance Code. I think you have a packet before you, and if we could, I'd like to just walk you through those changes. As we adopt the Property Maintenance Code, we need to fill in several blanks as we go. If you'll turn to section 101, we enter the city of Greer into this section. And then 103.5, we will insert, it is staff's recommendation that we insert a fee schedule as identified in the City of Greer comprehensive fee schedule, which we have an ordinance to discuss next. Section 112.4 is in relation to the fines that may be charged, and it is staff's recommendation that we insert a minimum amount of $200 to a maximum amount of $1,000. This is in compliance with what our court typically charges for those fines. Section 302.4 deals with overgrown lots and grass. It is staff's recommendation that council consider adopting 12 inches as what we want to look at for overgrowth. And then the next three sections, 304.14. The International Property Maintenance Code requires that dwellings be, that screens are installed on windows. And the purpose of this is for homes. The Property Maintenance Code is a minimum codes for existing homes. Heat is required in these homes, but air conditioning is not. So the purpose of having screens is so that an occupant can raise the windows and not have to deal with insect and filtration. So the dates that we're recommending is that screens should be on the windows year-round, so that would afford a tenant the opportunity to, you know, be able to raise their windows without having to worry about. The next section is 602.3, and it has to deal with heat supply. Every habitable dwelling is required to have heat. It's a minimum of 68 degrees, and that's typically measured 3 feet off the floor. The code, what we're needing to do here is implement the dates that we want heat to be in a home. It is staff's recommendation that we insert September 1st through May 1st, considering that we have some cool, you know, weather in the month of April. Section 602.4 deals with occupiable workspaces. Believe it or not, at your workplace, you're required to have heat. And again, we're not really discussing that code section other than the date to implement the heat. Should we get a complaint, in my years of experience, I've never received a complaint from a workplace of employment of an employee complaining about not having heat. But again, we need to insert, and it's staff's recommendation that we do September 1st through May 1st as well. But this ordinance is to adopt the various codes. We have Fire Marshal Scott Keeley here if you have any questions regarding the fire code. But we will adopt the International Building Code, the Residential Code, Mechanical, Plumbing, Fuel, Gas, and the National Electrical Code. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
On the screen, screen should not be required. See, we're putting in the dates, right? That's all we were doing there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But this doesn't apply if there's already central heat in there.
That's correct. If you have ventilation, it's our opinion that screens would not be required.
All of these apply to residential as well as commercial?
Yes, sir. The property maintenance code does address commercial buildings as well. But I believe the screens would be for habitable spaces only, which would refer to residential.
Are these regulations, these carry the weight of law nationally?
Yes, sir. This is an international code that's adopted throughout the United States as well as the Cayman Islands, Hawaii, eastern countries.
So if you got somebody that doesn't have screens on their house, that doesn't have central heat and air during a certain time of the year, they can be fined?
If we receive a complaint from a tenant and we go out to a home and there's not screens, then the code enforcement officer would ask the property owner to install them and maintain them.
From the tenant?
Is it just on rental property?
Rental, or, I mean, the likelihood of us inspecting the home of, you know, a residence would be only if we receive a complaint, and I can't imagine that we would, you know, do that.
Occupiable workspace, is that like a garage?
That would be like a warehouse or a garage, and the code does specify that processing, storage, and operation areas would not be required to provide heat.
Council, for the purpose of further discussion and to address these issues individually, and we can certainly continue discussion at that point in time, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Let's, Helms, with your assistance, let's go back and we'll take these items individually here, and we can further that discussion as we move along. Are we in agreement that the name of this jurisdiction is Greer, South Carolina? I think that's an easy enough one. We'll dispense with that. 1035 fees.
Isn't that a fees, isn't that a separate ordinance?
What we're inserting here is that as identified in the City of Greer comprehensive fee schedule, so it would refer us to the next ordinance that we'll be discussing.
Sorry, on the agenda.
All right, but I mean, how do we?
Well, it's
How-
whatever you
procedure.
adopt. I mean, we're just simply saying it is as identified in the comprehensive fee schedule, whatever you shall adopt.
Are we clear in regards to 103.5?
Yes.
One 12.4. Recommendation of staff is what, Ms. Helms?
A minimum of $200, a maximum of $1,000. And again, that's in what our court would use if we were to summons a case.
.4.
12 inches, is that what you said?
Recommendation of staff is 12 inches.
Yes, sir. As you're aware, we're in a very rainy season. Should a homeowner go on vacation for a week and come back, they could be found in violation with their grass as fast as it's growing. That seemed 10 inches to 18 inches is what most jurisdictions use. It's our recommendation that we use 12. Mr. Cunningham has a diagram for you, if you'd like to see that. It's kind of showing you the height of grass, weeds. And this would be the average.
Thank you, Vanna.
Good job, Ben.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, could you tell me what a non-noxious weed is?
Well, it depends on what the purpose is you're cultivating it for.
The commentary addresses weeds as if the ground has not been disturbed, if it hasn't been planted purposefully. Or we could adopt the yellow dandelions as our city flower, because they're all over.
Is that a noxious weed?
I believe so.
Well, there are plants that would be either native species or semi-native species that would be non-noxious plants. Noxious being invasive by nature and probably not native to its surroundings. Insect screens, recommendation from staff on dates?
January 1st through December 1st, year-round, would be our recommendation. And the purpose of that is if a homeowner wanted to raise their windows, in consideration that they may not have central air, we would want them to be protected from insects.
Section 602.3, recommendation of staff on dates for heat.
It would be September 1st through May 1st.
And for occupiable workspaces, 6024.
The same September 1st through May 1st.
Council, I have a motion and a second regarding the adoption of the International Property Code. What I would like to do at this point in time would be to entertain any motions to amend. We could then have discussion regarding those. If I hear none, we will proceed with the first reading of ordinance number 21-2013.
So those sections right there that you highlighted,
Yes.
that's the only wiggle room that we have in this entire code.
That's correct. With it being state mandated, we can make it more restrictive. It's my understanding that's how.
So have you read the entire code?
This property maintenance code I have.
Do you
The
have
other
any heartburn
codes-
with anything in there?
Well, enforcing the property maintenance code is a difficult job. And we work on a complaint basis only. And I can't say that I agree with all of it, but I do think that it's important to maintain a minimum standard of housing for our citizens. Screens may seem a little picky to some of us, but if you don't have air and you'd like to raise your windows to air out your home, I think it would be important to that tenant. They are minimum standards for property owners to maintain.
Ms. Helms, if the state didn't adopt the 2009 code, when was the last change or last adopted code we're moving from to adopt the 2012 code?
Every 3 years our codes change, the international codes. So we have currently been in the 2006 code editions with state amendments. And also with this adoption, it would be, we have a lot of state amendments as well. The Home Builders Association, fire code officials, building officials went to the Building Codes Council and proposed code changes and amendments to these codes that we're adopting now. And we have probably 75, 80 amendments to the code.
So,
Such as sprinkler systems. Sprinklers are required in new construction based on the 2006 code as well as the 2012, but our state has elected not to enforce that.
so the changes made at the state level then can be less than as opposed to more restrictive?
That's correct. We can propose code changes.
Okay. So it's quite possible then that South Carolina's adoption of the 2012 International Code Series could be different in many regards than Georgia's adoption of the same code or North Carolina's?
That's correct. Each state, North Carolina, they write their own code book as well as implementing the international codes, and obviously different wind zones and seismic zones. But each state has the opportunity to amend the code, but it's through a process, a hearing, and several readings, and then the Building Codes Council for our state adopts that and makes recommendations to the state level.
So you've got a federal international property code, but the states can change it.
The states can amend it, but they can't make it, they can amend the code. Yes, sir.
For clarification, that international property code is not adopted federally. There's no federal
That's right.
action that takes
Where does
place
it come from?
legislative. It's by the professionals who
Yes.
propose the codes.
At one time, you had the Southern Building Code that covered the Southwest. Then you had the BOCA Code that covered California and the NFPA codes. And then you had ICBO. And back in '97, all three codes came together and wrote the international code, and hoping that it would make it easier for contractors, architects, engineers that are designing to work out of one set of series to help bring us together on an international level.
So where does this body get its power to do this, if it's not federally mandated? They just all got together and say, hey, we're going to put some rules together.
Well, it's, I think that may be how it happened, but it's my understanding that this is I hate to use the word minimum level of standard, but it is a standard of level to give some assurance of liability, and some protection for cities that use it, that these standards are accepted as a level of protection, I would assume.
That's correct. They are, some like to call them the minimum standards, and but that's correct. They're written by professionals. Anytime there's a tragic event such as the Rhode Island nightclub fire or 9/11, you see code changes come about, and every 3 years they're rewritten and or amended or changed or deleted based on experience.
But it is up to the state legislature of the respective states to adopt or amend those codes.
And they require us to accept it. The state requires us to accept it.
Correct. We can make it more stringent, but we cannot make it less.
Well, I appreciate their suggestions and their standards, but I don't appreciate them mandating it. I think we're capable of taking their suggestions and doing the right thing without being mandated to do it.
Agreed and duly noted.
I'll entertain any amendments to the code. Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
No.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. First reading of ordinance 22-2013, an ordinance of the City of Greer, South Carolina, amending the comprehensive fee schedule for the Building and Development Standards Department by adding code enforcement fees. Ms. Helms?
Yes, sir. As we discussed, one of the codes that we are adopting on a state level is the International Property Maintenance Code. It affords us the opportunity to adopt a fee schedule. It is our staff's recommendation that you consider these numbers that we've proposed. Basically what we'll do with these, the administrative fees, is it helps to recoup the cost of code enforcement. Basically, it's very tiring for us to have the same people year after year that refuse to cut their grass and maintain it. And we don't want to take taxpayers' dollars to pay for someone else who is just negligent in maintaining their properties. The administrative fees for processing condemnation that results in demolition, we're recommending $250. Part of that is legal fees. We're required to do a title search on the property. It's a lot of time that we put into this, and we would be allowed to add these fees onto the bill that we send to the owner for abating or demolishing properties. As you can see, for mowing and overgrown lots, it's our goal to, if we're within the same growing season and we have to cite the same property owner over and over again, we're basically, adding additional fees to that to help discourage. So we would like to adopt this as part of the City of Greer's comprehensive fee schedule. We have not had this in the past. This would be an addition to our fee schedule, and the property maintenance code allows us to do so.
For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and second, floor is open for discussion.
Would these charges be the very first time that there's someone sent out there?
Well, they're charged now, like for demolition, if they're sent, if they don't demolish a home and we turn it over to Greenville County Redevelopment Authority, or if we have to have it torn down ourselves, they are sent a bill, but it's for the services rendered. We have never added any administrative fees onto the bill. And what the code is saying is that the fees for activities and services performed by the department in carrying out its responsibilities under this code, we have the ability to add these fees to the bill. Of course, if they're not paid, then they turn into a lien. But it helps offset the cost of code enforcement. Every year, we're spending $7,000 to $12,000 just cutting grass. And we really need to, you know, it's kind of like crime. You can't stop it, but we want to try to discourage it. It's a good word.
I've got two questions. So on a condemnation, would you have a $350 fee because if we condemn it, we secure it? Is that correct?
We have the fee for securing a structure would be $100. That would be if we had to board up a home while we're waiting on the process. And then if a condemnation that results in demolition would be the $250 fee.
And it has to be results in demolition, because I know sometimes you may be called out to condemn something because of some peril caused the building to be unsafe.
Right. Meth labs is a good example.
And often they'll remedy the situation.
Right. Right.
We'll do it, we'll issue a condemnation, but they will remedy.
Well, I guess my question was, a truck runs through a building and it makes it unsafe.
We would not charge a fee for that.
Okay, yes.
No, sir. This would only be if the owner fails to comply and bring the home up to minimum standards and we're forced to tear it down, would we charge the fee.
Mr. Dreggers, we've gone over the, oh, excuse me, you have another question, go ahead.
No, those are the two I had.
We've had this conversation on a couple of different occasions. Would administrative fees be acceptable as a part of a lien?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've been charging administrative fees when we file liens. We've had no statutory authority to do so.
Okay, all right.
Then why put it?
Cat's out of the bag now.
Yeah. For that reason.
Make a motion, we accept the fee schedule.
We have a motion and a second in that regard. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Dunn?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mr. Bettis,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Council, we have the first reading of ordinance 23-2013. This is an ordinance authorizing the sale of certain real property in the city of Greer. Mr. Griggers, are you going to give us an update in that regard, please, sir?
I'll be glad to, sir. Contained in your package is information of an offer that we received from Mr. William Grady concerning a parcel of property located in Spartanburg County, identified as Spartanburg County Tax Parcel 9-03-14-065.03, located on Sunnyside Drive. There's been an offer extended to the city to purchase that property for $1,000 and for the purchaser to pay all closing costs. We have prepared an ordinance to allow for the transfer of that property if it is the desire of council to do so. We present that as information to council.
I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, item D is the municipal solid waste collection contract. We will hold that over for discussion following executive session. We'll move to item E, which is the first reading of ordinance number 20-2013. This is the City of Greer ordinance fiscal year 2013-14 for an ordinance relating to the physical affairs of the City of Greer, South Carolina, making appropriations therefore, levying taxes, and to provide for an effective date. Council, as you are well aware, and for those that are in attendance tonight, we have had the opportunity over the last several weeks, even a month or so, to consider the budget as proposed for 2013-2014. We have conducted 2 workshops in that regard for the benefit of our council, and have had staff to participate in those as well as a report from the administrator. With that, I'll ask if the administrator would like to add anything to the affairs thereof of the budget before we proceed with first reading.
Ask David to distribute them. Yes, sir. The only change to the documentation that you received previously was reviewed during the workshop process, and that was an amendment to the stormwater budget. Mr. Seifert is actually passing out the revisions to the stormwater budget document, but again, those numbers now match exactly what was presented during the workshop session. All other numbers remain exactly the same, and there's no additional information that we have concerning that, but certainly we are available to answer any questions that you may have relative to the ordinance for first reading.
David. Thank you, sir. With that, then, council, I will entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and second. Floor is open for discussion.
Do we need to amend the budget, or can I put in a request for some blinds?
If you'd like for us to do that under new, we would have to amend. If you'd like for us to try to figure out what we can do with what we have. Of course, as you know, the issue that we have is that we can't block the exit doors. That's always been the issue architecturally here inside. We recognize at certain times of the year that's more of a problem than others.
Cardboard or something will work fine.
Well, I'm thinking portable screening possibly.
Yeah. I'm so thankful to see the sun out. I'm gonna squint. In regards to the new information on the stormwater issue, do we need to make any amendment or adjustment to the budget?
No, sir, because the budget references those as attached to the general fund budget.
Okay. Council, as we did just a moment ago, we have received approval and a second. In regards, I'll entertain any amendments before we proceed at this point. Hearing no amendments, I assume we are ready to proceed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to reiterate what I said last time, that I appreciate staff's effort getting it out early and giving us plenty of time to dissect it. And I think it's a good budget. I think it's a very innovative bonus plan, and I look forward to seeing how it works.
Thank you, sir. Others? Comments? Questions? Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we have two contractual matters, one legal matter, and one personnel matter. Do I hear a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Bookert,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas.
Yes.
Mr. Bettis.
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Council, in executive session, we considered two contractual matters, one legal matter and one personnel matter. We'll take appropriate action after coming out of executive session. Do I hear a motion to come out of executive session?
Second.
Have a motion in a second.
Yes.
Did you make a motion?
Who made the motion? Oh. Yeah, I motioned it. She said.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to come out of executive session.
He took off.
Is Riley not with us?
No, Riley has left.
Okay. Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. I was just letting you catch up, Tammy. I wasn't leaving you in the dark there. I didn't know if you had all that written down yet or not.
Got it.
Okay. We're out of executive session. Any further business to be dealt with this evening?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we allow the city administrator to authorize him to continue negotiations on our waste handling contract and to allow him to finalize the contract if it reaches that point.
Have a motion, I hear a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Duncan?
Mr. Arrowood,
Yes.
Ms. Booker,
Yes.
Mr. Dumas,
Yes.
Mayor Danner.
Yes. Have no further business, we stand adjourned.